I'm Mike. I'm basically just going to be giving you a lightning talk on some of my experiences and my journey with public speaking. So obviously Linda's given us a really great background on, all the tips and all the tricks, and I can nicely tell you what not to do and what I've done in the past. That hasn't gone so well, what has gone well, and yeah, just sort of take you through my journey and my sort of relationship with public speaking. So just for a little bit of background about me, I've been a business analyst for 2 years next month. I joined BGL Group as part of the apprenticeship program. I finished my apprenticeship a couple of months ago. Prior to that, I've had roles all over the place, really, customer service, project management, and all of them have sort of had quite a lot of exposure to public speaking scenarios in one way or another. And you'd probably be forgiven for thinking because of that, it comes pretty naturally, but that's pretty much as far away from the truth as you can get. I'm not by any means what anyone would call a natural public speaker. To be The irony is actually most places, if you ever Google tips for public speaking, they'll say never admit to your audience that you're nervous. But I think it kind of sets the scene for this talk anyway, that of course I am nervous. I'm a very anxious person naturally. I suffer with social anxiety, sort of imposter syndrome, all the things that would make public speaking pretty much the opposite of what I'd like to do. Um, but yeah, I'll be taking you through why I am here today, where I've sort of come from. And to start, it's probably good to just set the scene why I want to talk about it. And it is one of those where people think of BAs as all of us must be natural speakers. We're always in that situation. We're facilitating workshops, so if you're a BA, it must be natural. And yeah, I'd like to dispel that as soon as possible because it can take so much building to get you to that place. And it's important to recognise the steps that you take to get to where you're, comfortable running a workshop for 20 people, rather than just sort of batting it off as it's part of your job. As I said, it's an area I've always struggled in, and actually, when I started doing the research for this talk, I realised how shocking it is about the stats of how many people struggle with public speaking. So, just as a first example, so glossophobia. Glossophobia is a fear of public speaking, and I tried to find a hard number of how many people were affected, but studies range quite a lot. But most of them seem to fall in the ballpark of 40 to 75% of people. And when I start putting that in the context of people on this call, that's over half of us will have a fear of public speaking in some form. And considering it's that high, it's amazing how much it doesn't get talked about that often. And some of them have even gone as extreme to say there's only one thing people fear more, and that's death. So it's pretty high up on the rank. Um, Obviously, another fact is, as Linda touched upon earlier, actually, that fight or flight response. And it's actually really interesting to read about when you go all shaky, or you get a dry mouth, or you get, pale, or some people go really flushed. That's actually it's an emotional and it's a physiological response to stress. People's eyes on you is an evolutionary, red flag of you're in danger. And it is amazing when you start thinking it's not just all in your mind, it's your whole body reacting to that situation. So I just find that really interesting. And the last one was how many people it does affect. A lot of things, it affects one group of people, one demographic, but no, this seems to be everyone, men, women, all different backgrounds, education, and even, people who you would actually think on the outside are naturals. So three names I thought I would toss in there are Richard Branson, fear of public speaking, Harrison Ford, and Rowan Atkinson. So if you are afraid of public speaking, you're in the company of a man who might make spaceflight commercial, Mr. Bean, and Han Solo. Not exactly bad company to keep. So I will start by sort of going through one of my first experience with public speaking, and this is actually my first job as a call center rep. Through no fault of my own, I became an expert in one sort of area of the system, and I was told to upskill the rest of the department on it. And that only consisted of sort of a training group of 10 people at a time, nothing too bad from the outside, but I was absolutely terrified because instantly in my mind I was going, these people are the same level as me. Why will they listen to me? what would make them want to learn from somebody who is the same level as them? And I think now when I look back at that, that was pretty much I'd lost the battle before I even started, because I was already in that mindset of they want me to fail. They want me to, you know, make a fool out of myself. They're not going to want to learn from me. I've got nothing they can learn from. And sure enough, I did fail. Won't sugarcoat it in any way. I failed miserably. I think it was actually the second to last course I took on there. I think about half of them were sat on their phones or laptops doing other things. And at that point, I had checked out. I'd sort of admitted defeat. And that's probably the reason why the next highlight in my public speaking journey isn't for another year, because at that point, I recoiled away from it. I sort of accepted public speaker is not who I am. I'm not cut out for it. And again, that's part of the reason I'm here today, is to sort of shun that away of you don't have to be a natural. So the next time was a very different setting. It was actually when I was a project manager for my previous company, and there was a business problem. I had to come up with a solution and present it to a load of the European service directors. And people always give you that, it doesn't matter who your audience is, if you just go out and give your presentation as if it's anyone there. That didn't work at all. I mean, we talk about knowing your audience, and I think that is so important. And what I failed to do was make it engaging. Linda actually said it perfectly, is the death by PowerPoint. I thought I was really, really prepared for that because I had 30 slides. I didn't realize that those 30 slides meant I'd already failed again from the outset. So I went into that actually really confident because I had thought I'd done it right. I was like, yep, okay, I've got my slides, I've got graphs, I've got financial details. They're going to love this. 5 minutes in, I think it was, until, you know, everyone gets their phones out, everyone's sitting there. I've got another meeting soon. And that all of those sort of experiences teach you little bits. And that one was definitely avoid the PowerPoint. Ironically, as he says, looking at a PowerPoint, but still, I like to think I've kept it more concise than 30 slides. But again, so the first lesson was make it engaging, make sure that, you know, you don't have to be a manager to teach people things. You can be a leader at any level. That one definitely taught me the simple one, avoid PowerPoint. And then we come to the next one. So this would actually be my first highlight in my BGL career. So this was March 2020, which will ring a bell for many people for many, many reasons. This was about the time when everyone's lives sort of got turned upside down quite quickly. And for me, it was caused by, I had a project kickoff meeting that I was due to facilitate. And a day before it happened, we got the message that, you know, everyone's working from home, offices are shut. And that sort of raised three questions for me, I think. So the first one was, should I delay the session, wait till we can all be in the office? Really glad I didn't hedge my bets on that. How do I sort of adapt to what's usually a really interactive session to be virtual? That was obviously quite a valid fear, and I think it's one that we've all struggled with over the last year. And then the final one was, where am I supposed to sit? I didn't have a desk or a chair. So again, all valid fears. So with that one, I decided to actually take a more head-on approach, go ahead with it. And actually, this is where one of my more valuable lessons comes in, is using tools that are available to you rather than PowerPoint. Things like Trello boards, if anyone's ever used Trello, Metro Retro, sort of things that are interactive and allow people to, you know, interact with you, bounce ideas off each other rather than reading something off a screen. It sort of takes that focus off me as a presenter and puts some of the pressure back on them to participate. And for someone like me who does get nervous, does get flustered, having that sort of fallback of, you know, they've got to do their part as well can be a massive help. So that's definitely key learning there, is have some sort of visual or interactive aids to help you along. And then I come to actually today. So again, I want to sort of highlight today as sort of a big step for me, just because this was something that I would quite happily say no to, or never even volunteer to do, just because I could actually quite happily live my little introverted life, never speak out loud. But what I wanted to do was push myself professionally, personally, but also, sort of show that other people are probably going through the exact same thing. People have the exact same thoughts as me of, I'm not a natural speaker. Why should I bother? I think we all probably do the same thing of you look at YouTube videos of TED Talks and you think, wow, these people are, they're real natural speakers. They're almost at a level nobody can ever reach, but you don't see all of these little steps that I'm putting up on the screen here. They've all gone through that. Everyone has gone through failures. Everyone's gone through little wins. And that's kind of the reason I wanted to show this on a timeline rather than just a slide by slide, is just to show that I've gone from a point where I got flustered with a group of 10 people trying to train a simple process to the point where I can now speak to you people, not stress-free. I'm not going to lie. There's a part of stress in there, but it's not just happened overnight. It's not got to a point where I'm just happy doing that. It's a lot of little steps, and those little steps I hope are ones that all of you can take, even if it is just as simple as saying, right now I'm at a point where I'm happy speaking to 10 people in a meeting. Even if it gets to the point where you say, all right, I want to speak to 12 people in a meeting, give yourself something to celebrate. If you've made a small step, that small step can contribute towards you, like Charles said, speaking to 200 people in a room. That doesn't just happen overnight either. Or a lot of little steps would have gone into that. So what I've learned here is push yourself out your comfort zone, but do it in small steps. If you're a naturally anxious person, definitely push yourself out of your comfort zone, but don't do it too far, because I've done that before where I've almost pushed myself to my end goal too soon, and I've gone, oh no, this is actually really scary. I'm going to recoil back to where I was happy. So just push it in little steps. And then next, who knows, really, in an ideal world, just throwing it out there, I would love to do something like this again, but in person. That would be really, really great to see some of you people in person. Actually, have to think about other things like where do I stand? Do I walk around as I talk? Do I stand still? What do I do with my hands? All little things that we've sort of lost over the last year. So that's definitely a step that I'd love to take. And, if anyone else loves to take that sort of step as well, I think the next event is a lightning talk event. So, if you are sort of in the space of, I'm not quite there, but I'm getting close, between now and that next event, you can take a lot of those little steps and get to the point where you'd be happy doing that. And then just to sort of round off, again, just to reiterate, those are all the little steps. And trust me, I've only got like 15 minutes, so I have cut out a lot of other little steps that went in there. But what you can sort of take away from that is every single natural speaker in the world looks like they're over right on the right-hand side doing these massive talks of 200 people, but all of them started pretty much in the same place. Nobody was just doing that from day dot. So I hope you sort of enjoyed listening about some of my experiences, and I hope I've sort of given you a nudge to look at what the next step is. But if not, I hope you enjoyed listening about my failures too. It might make you feel a little bit better about your own. And with that, if there are any questions, feel free to pop it in the chat. If anyone wants to sort of reach out to me afterwards on LinkedIn, or if you're in BGL, drop me a message. But yeah, it'd be great to chat about what some of your experiences are as well. But thank you very much for having me on. I will pass back to our hosts. Thanks.